Israel is being blamed for the exploding pagers in Lebanon that killed at least 9 people, including an 8-year-old girl, and wounded thousands. The low-tech devices have been used by Hezbollah as a means of communication that avoids location tracking. Israel has not yet commented on the attacks, but it is thought that the devices were interfered with during their production, so an attack that would have been months in the making. Charlotte Hughes and Matthew Mary Cauchet tell us more.
Ambulances rushed to this hospital in the Lebanese capital after pagers used by hundreds of Hezbollah members exploded, killing several people and wounding scores more across the country. In the aftermath, blood banks have opened to help the injured.
I think that this is the least we can do, that one of us would give under these circumstances. And God heal all the injured.
A child was among those killed, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry. Hezbollah, meanwhile, confirmed the death of several of its fighters. Tehran's ambassador in Lebanon was also wounded, according to Iranian media. Due to the probability of mobiles being tracked or hacked, Hezbollah relies strongly on pagers for communication. The Iran-backed Lebanese militant group has pinned the blame on Israel for the incident and vowed retaliation.
Hezbollah's competent agencies are currently conducting a wide-ranging security and scientific investigation to determine the causes that led to these simultaneous explosions.
Israel has not commented on the incident. In a statement issued after the blasts, the Israeli army has advised Israel's residents to remain alert and vigilant, but said it had no changes in its advice to civilians. It comes as tensions in the region are already running high, with Hezbollah and Israeli forces trading near daily fire after the Israel-Hamas conflict broke out. The cross-border exchanges of fire have resulted in tens of thousands being forced from their homes in northern Israel and southern Lebanon. Earlier in the week, the Israeli Prime Minister's office announced that Israel had made returning residents to the north of the country an official war goal. The announcement comes as the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, heads back to the region this week to try and revive stalled ceasefire talks for the Israel-Hamas conflict.
Well, joining us now is former British military intelligence officer Philip Ingram. Mr. Ingram, thanks so much for your time. Can I start by asking you, Israel has yet to comment on these attacks, but pretty much all the fingers of blame are pointing towards it. Is that for you the likely culprit?
Yes, almost certainly. Israel doesn't comment, and no nation that carries out such a sophisticated attack would tend to comment, because the speculation actually sows more doubt and creates more problems within the organisation that they've targeted.
OK, but give me an idea of, it's a low-tech technology, these pagers, and yet a sophisticated attack, as you say. Have you an idea of how this could have been put in place?
This is speculation because the technical details haven't come out. But looking at the way the explosions happened, and having talked to friends of mine who are explosive experts, this was not a battery runaway event. This was what's called a high-order detonation. So high explosives into the devices. So what is almost certainly what has happened is that at some stage in the supply chain, those pagers have been interfered with and had explosives inserted in them. And then the agency, and I would say almost certainly Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, has decided that yesterday was the day to detonate them and sent a code to these pagers, and the high explosives went off.
And, given your background, can you give us your insight on the timing of this? With Israel already bogged down in Gaza, can you explain why it might decide to do this now?
Well, I don't see any significance with the timing, the date and all the rest of that. That may come out with further analysis, but this is something that will have taken months and months and months of planning, because it's working out how you can get the Hezbollah to change from their phones to pagers. So they've done that, working out how they get their pagers and where they're supplied through. And Hezbollah have got this habit of getting things from one or two little outlets. That's probably tied into the wider criminal networks. It will be a family member of a senior Hezbollah person that supplies the electronics, and that's the weakness. That's the weakness in any supply chain, and that's why this was a very sophisticated supply chain attack, I think.
And I guess it's a breach for Hezbollah's security. I mean, they're going to have to rethink their form of communication once again.
Oh, massive breach. They put mobile phones to one side because the Israelis could track them. They now don't have pagers. So the memes that are going around social media are fantastic. I think we're seeing lots of carrier pigeons being used in the memes. But Hezbollah, this is a massive attack, not only in injuring the Hezbollah personnel, but the way it'll cause people to be concerned about everything that they've got, and the way that can be interfered with.
And Hezbollah has vowed revenge. What kind of impact do you think it's going to have on the situation in the region?
Well, this is part of the problem within the region. Every time there's an attack of some description, people have to be seen to save face and attack back. I don't really know what Hezbollah can do apart from what they've been doing almost daily for months and months and months, which is try and rocket Israel. Of course, Hezbollah is backed by Iran. They are stimulating what's going on with Hamas and with other groupings. So there may be attacks from other groupings across the Middle East against Israeli interests.
Indeed. Do you see a greater involvement from Iran potentially getting involved, even with the situation in Gaza?
Well, Iran's interesting because it hasn't formally retaliated after the assassination of the Hamas leader attending the Iranian presidential inauguration, and that's gone quiet. So this may be something that will stimulate Iran to rethink what it was going to do then. The region's a tinderbox, and anything that happens in there is likely to inflame different actions across it.
And finally, Mr. Ingram, we have had previous attacks in the past on mobile phones. These were low technology once again. How new do you think this is in terms of type of attack? It's not really gone into the cyber territory region at all. How new do you think it is? How significant?
I don't think it's new, but I can't remember when it's happened before. But the reason why I say it's not new, it's not sophisticated. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of detail. It's high explosives. The worrying thing would be if someone had managed to find a way of getting a battery to run away and explode, because the global implications of that would be significant. Nobody would be allowed to take a mobile device on an aircraft ever again, for example. So that's why I hope that people rule that out very quickly indeed. But looking at the types of explosions, it's almost certainly interference, high explosives in these devices, and that's what's caused the injuries and the deaths.
And if it is Israel, it would also need cooperation with another country, would it not, to be able to intercept those pagers and put explosives on them?
Not necessarily. The cooperation comes in different ways. The Israeli intelligence agency, like any sophisticated intelligence agency, is more than capable of interfering with anything in the supply chain without the country where things are coming from or manufactured or anything else knowing.
Okay, Philip Ingram, former British intelligence officer, thanks so much for joining us and giving us your insight into that situation.